What's going on, everybody? David here, back with another video. So we're going to do a stimulus package, stimulus check update, and we're going to take a look and a listen to Senator Hirono. So she's going to talk a little bit about the $15 an hour minimum wage. And I talked about this in a previous video as far as the $15 an hour minimum wage. Should it be in this bill? Should it be in another bill? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. All right, so let's go ahead and get right to her video. So here we go.
Hawaii. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We've been talking about March 14th as this deadline. Now that impeachment is over, where do we stand on it?
So the March 14th, that is the deadline now that they self-imposed deadline, because you do have some stuff expiring. You have the enhanced unemployment expiring on March 14th. So they want to be able to focus this stimulus package, get this done before then. That way there'll be no interruption when it comes to the enhanced unemployment. So, and we know how Congress is. They wait till the last minute. So because it's March 14th, we might see this happen on March 14th as far as is getting everything signed off by the president. So approved in the House, approved in the Senate, and signed off by the president on March 14th, which is a Sunday. So they might not work on a Sunday, so they might get it done Saturday. That's kind of the way they work.
And he said it's full speed ahead. And even during the impeachment trial, the House members were working on the earmark. I mean, the earmarks are on my mind, but on the bill that would help our American people. I'd like earmarks to come back as long as it's made transparent and as long as people know who's getting the earmarks and for what.
I was just going to ask you that question. So you're on board. Let's talk.
And so just so you know, the segment before they were talking about bringing back earmarks. And so that's where they can specify where this money's going to certain areas, different earmarks for different things. There was some controversy about this in the past because politicians were using this kind of as they weren't using it appropriately. Let's just put it that way. And they were going to jail and prison for basically taking bribes. So now they do want to bring it back, but obviously you need to, with anything, you need to regulate it and make sure that they're using it for the right things.
Talk about, though, let's talk a little bit more about the COVID relief package. There is some pushback from some elements of the Democratic Party on some elements of the COVID relief package. What do you foresee getting stripped from the bill if it needs to be?
There will probably be some efforts to cut back on the raising of the minimum wage, but everybody should remember that if the minimum wage had kept pace with the cost of living and other increases, we would be at over $20 as a minimum wage. We have not increased the minimum wage in our country in over a decade. And then one of the many things that the pandemic disclosed was the huge economic disparity, and that the people who are suffering the most economically are the lowest paid people in our country, many of whom are in the essential worker categories. And so the increase in minimum wage in the Biden bill is incremental, and there should be serious debate and discussion about it. And as far as I'm concerned, the minimum wage should be increased incrementally.
Okay, and you heard her say incremental twice. So it's not going to happen all at once. It's going to take time for it to develop.
What do you say to those who have said that is something that can get taken out of this bill easily and can get debated later on, can get passed later on? It's a piece of legislation that can come after this. The relief bill itself is much more urgent and pressing than that one line item.
Raising the minimum wage is part of an economic relief bill. I don't see how anyone can argue otherwise. That here we are with millions of people out of work, millions of people in essential jobs that are paid very little. And why wouldn't raising their minimum wages help them recover economically from this pandemic? I do not see this as somehow something that doesn't have anything to do with the pandemic. Of course it does.
Okay, so you hear her talking about raising the minimum wage, and obviously she's a senator. She's for raising the minimum wage, but as I stated in the previous video, if you didn't check that video out, you can check it out up here. you have some senators that are not for raising this minimum wage, at least not in this COVID relief package. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this. But this is the issue that I have. Because this $15 an hour minimum wage is going to happen over time, it's not going to help the people right away. And the best way to help the people right away, they had it back in June when they were talking about hazard pay. But they don't talk about hazard pay anymore. Hazard pay would have helped people immediately. People making minimum wage, they would have got a boost immediately. But the situation that they're looking at now, this is not going to, it's not going to be in play when it comes to the crisis that we're dealing with right now. So if you really want to raise that minimum wage, do hazard pay. That will do it immediately. And then in a separate bill, you can go ahead with the $15 an hour minimum wage, and then that will be the transition. So people get hazard pay now, and then they can transition into this $15 an hour minimum wage. But I think right now, the way that they are trying to do this is they're trying to include the $15 an hour minimum wage because it's something that Democrats have been wanting to include in a bill for a long time, and they see this opportunity. So let's put it in there now, then we won't have to worry about it later. But I think that's the wrong way to go about it. And if you really want to help the American people right now, hazard pay. Bring back hazard pay. That will help people immediately. And then do the $15 an hour minimum wage. Because you'll get support. Most likely you're going to get support from Senator Sinema, who has an issue with the $15 an hour minimum wage. She probably is not going to have an issue with something that's going to help people right away, as opposed to the $15 an hour minimum wage. Because the argument right now, this is not COVID relief related. This is not something that we need to do right away. So I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about this. So in the comment section, let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.